Major Rutherford.
Oh, present and correct, sir!
You don't go to bed to sleep. You go to bed to press your battle dress.
You snot goblin squill! What are you? Hip, 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 hip. Red Will! Squall! Help!
Who the hell is that out there?
Major Rutherford, sir. It's two of your lucky lads come to see you.
Why are we waiting? Why are we waiting? Oh, why are we waiting?
How are you, sir? I can't tell you how pleased we are to see you again, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, you remember us. Lance Corporal Chipperwood and Private Legsy Leggett. The terrible twins. The old inseparables.
Your old bully boys, sir. Surely you remember.
Yes, well, it's frightfully decent of you to call. You were in my unit, did you say?
He don't remember us, Legsy.
No, I'm sure it'll come back. But of course you must remember I was in the army for quite some time.
Do you mind if I warm me old plates of meat?
No. Make yourself at home.
After you, sir.
No, thank you. I'm afraid we're not very luxurious in here.
I wouldn't say that, sir. It's a bit like the old days. Don't forget to bump your bed space.
Or tack, cop rations. In bed or out of barracks of a Sunday.
I wish I could offer you chaps a drink. Unfortunately...
Never mind, sir. Here, have one with us. Drop of the Popes.
No, thanks. Wish I could. The doctor's orders.
Oh. Hard cheese, sir. Hard cheese.
If you don't mind my asking, how the devil did you know I was here?
Gave your missus a tinkle, sir.
Yes, very accommodating she was. Especially she didn't know me from a crow. Yes, told us exactly where to find you. Said you'd be pleased to see us.
Of course, sir. I remember your missus from when I delivered coal to your married pad, sir. Always a smile for me. Lovely woman she was. Beautiful woman.
You don't know how we used to envy you, you know. Yes, tossing and turning in our lonely barrack room beds. Thinking of you going home to that beautiful, soft, warm creature.
No fraternisation for the other ranks, though. Everywhere else out of bounds. Murder it was.
Oh, well. Exigencies of the service, I suppose. What? Oh, still, a couple of fellas like you. Dare say you had your fun.
Don't let us stop you eating your mungeria, sir.
Oh, that's all right. I'm not particularly hungry, as a matter of fact.
I didn't know you was keen on this bird watching caper, sir.
Yes, it's a disease I picked up a few years ago. I come here, do a bit of observation from time to time. You know, it's much more interesting in the winter. You're apt to see the kind of bird that's more or less a foreigner, kind of winter visitor.
I've got a couple who didn't exactly bargain for this evening, sir.
Yes, I suppose you could put it like that.
We're birds of a feather, us ex-army people. You know, sticking together, going over the old memories.
Chipper and I, though, we was only national service. We didn't give our lives to the army like you, sir. Still, once you've been in uniform, you always remember your old comrades.
Oh, no. Well, you know, it's always been one of the most important elements of service life, you know, chaps sticking together. You must have been out of the army for quite some time.
How long is it now, Legsy?
14 years, 9 months, 23 days, 11 hours, and 16 minutes from now.
He's a great one with the records, he is. You know what, sir? Old Legsy here. Regular's clockwork. He'd look up the army list, see if you were still serving. Major Gerald Hugo Sebastian Rutherford, MBE. Yeah, year after year, he'd phone me up and tell me where you were. Malaya, Libya, Ethiopia. And then about a fortnight ago, he rings me up, right on the dot, and he says, Chipper, mate, he's out.
Yes, well, the chap certainly seemed to have prospered since your army days.
Yes, well, we haven't done too badly, Gerald. She mentioned the subject. Oh, you don't mind me calling you Gerald? Yes, so Legsy here, he's one of the biggest bookmakers in the country. How many betting shops you got now, mate? What is it, 67?
76.
Oh, 76, yes, I knew it was something like that figure. Yes, as for myself, I've got a nice little factory down Islington.
Really?
Of course, it was a bit like panic stations when we came out of the army. Couldn't seem to get a job at all. After they'd had us shoved at our discharge papers, nobody wanted to know, did they, mate?
You wouldn't chuckle. Of course, I suppose it'd be different for you, eh, Gerald? I'm getting a job, you know.
Lucky for some.
Unlucky for others.
You know, I'm still trying to remember where it was we served together. Perhaps you'd better tell me.
Number 364, Ordnance Sub Depot, Middle East Land Forces. Does that ring a bell?
Good Lord, yes. Wait a minute. Cyprus. 50,
He's got it.
The time of the Troubles. Oh, yes, I remember those days extremely well. See now, we were about 4 miles from Nicosia.
Dead right. You were officer commanding, and me and Legsy were the best two-store men you ever had. You're lucky lads. That's what you used to call us, Gerald. Well, don't you remember?
Well, it's been an extremely pleasant chat.
Hello, Chipper. He wants us to Scarpa. Do you remember that night we was on guard duty?
Oh, yeah, you must remember that, Gerald. Yeah, that night me and Legsy were on guard duty together. When we were doing that 12 to 4 stag in the morning. Don't you remember? Now, one of those terrorist Herberts raided the armoury and got away with a dozen pistols and 15 stens. And they were seen leaving the camp area about 3:30, and a copper saw him and they shot him. Yeah, and me and Legsy were supposed to be on guard duty together while they were picking the big double lock on the armoury door, and we didn't see them. And we got a field general court-martial for neglect of duty, and they gave us both 6 months in Colchester Glasshouse, and a discharge with ignominy. Surely you remember that, Gerald?
Yes, of course I remember it. I don't suppose it's any comfort to you now to know that at the time I considered it an extremely harsh sentence.
Oh, it was rough. Dead rough. Is that what you call clean, laddie?
Stop! Call me, sir! Call me, stop!
You see those scratches, lad? Well, I want you to take your little bit of emery paper and make 'em vanish. And then you will proceed to polish it until it resembles the sun's arse. Pick it up.
Stand up! Sit down! Stand up! Sit down!
Oh, yes, sir. It was a harsh sentence, let us make no bones. Oh, I agree that the eyeballs of myself and Legsy here were not perhaps rolling and floating quite so much as they should have been. On the other hand, there were 1 or 2 important circumstances affecting the situation which did not emerge at the Wouldn't you agree?
Well, since your own recollections on this subject are rather vivid, understandably, of course, perhaps you may also remember that I spoke at your court-martial. I entered a very strong plea of mitigation.
Oh, yes, you did. Yes, quite right, Gerald. On the other hand, under the circumstances, you were very justified in doing so.
I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Ah, well, let me make it clear beyond any shadow of doubt. Now, let me set the scene, Gerald. Outside, among the dark intestines of the camp, we have Legsy and Chipper wandering around on sentry duty, rifles at the ready. Inside the officers' mess, however, an atmosphere of bacchanalian revelry prevails, as you, Gerald, and your brother officers celebrate the last night of your second-in-command, Captain Alistair McGovern, due for a home posting in the morning. Now, quiet, everybody. Alistair's going to give us a song. Now, come on, Alistair.
Sailing up the crane, sailing up the crane. Then your rain fire say, the lump comes to your throat and the teary in your eye. When you say that back has gotten in the morning.
Shortly after midnight, Gerald, only 3 officers remain. Yourself, Captain McGovern, and a young, fresh-complexioned National Service subaltern, Michael Haley. Remember? The 3 of you continued the party for an hour or so, by which time you were all plastered.
Not to say paralytic.
Nadgered. Stewed as a fiddler's bitch. At approximately 0130 hours, Gerald, you had a slight altercation with Captain McGovern. The trouble with you Scotsmen, you can't take your liquor. I could drink you under the table, Alistair. And then I could go down to the pistol range and I could still get 5 shots on the target.
Don't talk wet, Gerald. You couldn't have hit the floor with your bonnet.
All right. See about that. We'll have a competition. All right? Mr. Haley, come here. Listen. Tell you what I want you to do. Go over to the armory and get a revolver. And then bring it over to the indoor range. There were 2 sets of keys to the armoury, Gerald. One in the officers' mess and the other in the guard room. You gave young Michael the officers' mess set, and he asked if he ought to notify the guard commander because it was strictly against the regulations, even for officers, to take weapons from the armoury during the hours of darkness, except in emergencies. Well, you informed him, Gerald, that a resourceful young officer ought to be able to unlock the armoury and grab a revolver without being seen by the sentries. So Mr. Haley slipped out into the darkness and carried out his mission successfully. Then he took the revolver over to the indoor range, where you and Alistair were waiting. Are you ready, Legsy?
Just a second, Chipper.
All right, let's have the target up, shall we?
It's up already, can you no see it?
Oh, yes. You're absolutely right. After you fired 1 round, Gerald, just missing Michael's ear, you went spark out on the firing point. Alistair and Mr. Haley had to carry you back to your pit. And when you got there, you spewed all over the blankets. Well, don't you remember?
This really is absolute nonsense.
Anyone can get tanked up, Gerald. No harm in that. But unfortunately, when young Michael unlocked the armoury door, he was so pissed, he forgot to lock it again. So, when our Cypriot friends paid us a visit, they didn't have to pick the lock. All they had to do was walk straight in and help themselves.
This really is absolute nonsense, old fellow. Sorry.
Of course, the theft of the weapons wasn't discovered until the arms store men arrived, by which time Captain McGovern was on his way to the airport. So, that left only you and Mr. Haley, who knew about your little escapade. And you persuaded him to keep his trap shut, for a very good reason. Because if you hadn't, you would have been on that court-martial instead of me and Legsy. Is that right, Gerald?
What you're suggesting is complete and utter nonsense.
About 7 years ago, I had a visit from Mr. Michael Haley. He told me all about it. It'd been on his conscience for years. He said if we wanted to raise it again, he was willing to testify. But I told him there was no point. Nobody could give me and Legsy those 6 months back again.
Haven't you forgotten something, chipper old mate?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I knew there was something else. Yeah, Mr. Haley told me that on the morning after the event, he still had the revolver. But he couldn't put it back in the armoury, so it was included among those which were stolen. When he was demobbed, he brought it home with him. Gave it to me as a souvenir. You've still got the original bullets in it. Funny old world, isn't it?
Never heard anything so damn ridiculous.
Ah, come on, Gerald. Mr. Haley had no reason to lie. Right. Now, I'll tell you what we want you to do, Gerald. All we want you to do is kiss our boots as a gesture of contrition, as you might say.
I can assure you, I've no intention of doing anything of the sort.
Oh, come on, Gerald. It's not a lot to ask. After all, we were kissing boots every day for 6 bloody months. For your sake.
No one will know, Gerald. Only me and Legsy here. Of course, there is another alternative. We could carry on that target practice you started all those years ago. Only this time, we'll use a moving target. Like you, Gerald.
Come on, we ain't got all bloody night.
Yes, come on, Gerald. Just a couple of little smackers, that's all. It'll only take a second. We're not even asking you to kneel down.
Oh, kiss it, you bastard!
No, leave him alone, Legsy. It won't count like that, will it? Right then, Gerald, what's it going to be? The loving kiss or the nasty target practice? Of course, we realise that's a difficult decision. We don't want to rush you. We'll give you another 30 seconds to make up your mind. All right? Time it, will you, Legsy? From now. Whiter than the whitewash on the wall, whiter than the whitewash on the wall. Wash me in the water that you wash your dirty daughter in, and I shall be whiter than the whitewash on the wall. You'd rather die than kiss our boots, wouldn't you? The sad, unfortunate part is you might have to. Right. Lance Corporal Wood and Private Leggett will commence target practice now. Heave! Right, I'll just explain the rules, Gerald. All I want you to do is run from one wall to the other. And we'll shoot when you're somewhere in the middle. Now, there's only 4 shots in a cylinder, Gerald. So all you've got to do is survive them, and you've got nothing to worry about. Any questions? Right. Get back against the wall.
We'll give you one more chance, Gerald. Are you going to kiss our boots, or aren't you?
I can't.
Fair enough. Now, me and Legsy will take turns. And it's no use just standing there, Gerald, because after we shout go, we're going to count to 3. And if you haven't moved by then, we're going to shoot anyway. Have you got that? Right. Go.
1, 2. Right. On your mark, Gerald. Get set. Go. Wow.
Oh, cunning stuff.
Want to change your mind about the boots, Gerald?
Ah, you'll never catch a train that way, Gerald. You've got to move. Go.
1, 2, 3.
You're doing all right, Gerald. You're doing all right.
Middle 4. Diddle.
This is your lot, Gerald.
Go!
You bloody hit him, you idiot. No need to worry, Gerald. Just a bit of a lark. I mean, you don't shoot an old comrade, do you? I mean, that wouldn't be civilised, would it?
We've done 6 months for you already, you bastard. You don't think we're going to do another 10 years, do you?
Well, good night, Major Rutherford. Sir, it was very nice seeing you again. Many thanks for your hospitality.
Same goes for me, sir. Give my regards to your lovely lady wife.
Yes. Goodbye, sir. Up! 2, 3, away! 2, 3, about! Stop! Ready, left!